La Benemérita Universidad de Costa Rica les da la cordial bienvenida. Este evento corresponde a la conferencia 2018, El poder de la geografía, un nuevo pensamiento para la siguiente generación de la educación geográfica. La actividad está siendo organizada por el Grosvenor Center for Geographic Education de Texas State University en Estados Unidos, la Escuela de Geografía de la Universidad de Costa Rica y la Escuela de Ciencias Geográficas de la Universidad Nacional. Esta es una oportunidad para discutir el papel de la educación geográfica en el desarrollo de la sociedad, el sistema educativo y el ámbito profesional. A la vez, queremos enfatizar en los alcances educacionales, sociales, económicos, políticos y ambientales de la geografía. Para el comité organizador es un honor contar con su presencia y por ello les estamos muy agradecidos. En la mesa principal se encuentran el máster Edgar Mora Altamirano, en la posición central, ministro de Educación Pública de la República de Costa Rica, el decano doctor Manuel Martínez Herrera, de la Facultad de Ciencias Sociales de la Universidad de Costa Rica, a mi izquierda, y en la parte izquierda de la mesa nos acompaña el doctor David Lambert, profesor de University of College London Institute of Education. Además, saludamos a la doctora Isabela Bendaño Flores, directora de la Escuela de Ciencias Geográficas, y la máster Lilian Quiroz Arias, directora de la Escuela de Ciencias Geográficas de la Universidad Nacional. También a la población estudiantil presente, el cuerpo docente de educación secundaria y de educación superior, invitados nacionales e internacionales, ponentes, observadores, amigos y amigas del mundo que nos honran con su asistencia. Para hoy tendremos unas palabras de los tres representantes que tenemos en la mesa y por favor les invito a recibir con agrado las palabras del doctor Manuel Martínez Herrera, decano de la Facultad de Ciencias Sociales, que nos procederá a dar una bienvenida a esta actividad.
Bueno, muchas gracias. Señor Edgar Mora, ministro de Educación, señora directora de la Escuela de Geografía de la Universidad de Costa Rica, señora directora de la Escuela de Ciencias Geográficas de la Universidad Nacional, señor David Lambert, profesor invitado, delegados de México, Estados Unidos, Inglaterra y Corea, señoras y señores, reciban una calurosa bienvenida de parte de la Facultad de Ciencias Sociales de la Universidad de Costa Rica. Nos complace mucho ser parte de esta conferencia 2018, El poder de la geografía, el nuevo pensamiento para la siguiente generación de educación geográfica. Este nuevo pensamiento geográfico alude de manera directa a la formación profesional en esta importante disciplina que cada día adquiere mayor relevancia. También es de vital importancia para la educación básica y media y para la cultura en general de nuestros países, por lo cual celebramos la participación en esta ocasión del señor Ministro de Educación de Costa Rica en dicho evento. El Instituto Panamericano de Geografía e Historia tomó recientemente una resolución para incluir a la geografía en la educación básica, media y superior como disciplina autónoma, lo cual adquiere una enorme importancia a la luz de las crisis migratorias que viven nuestras regiones, al cambio climático y a los impactos sobre el medio ambiente y la producción agropecuaria, porque solo una ciudadanía educada y consciente será capaz de actuar de manera propositiva sobre estas graves problemáticas y exigir a los gobernantes las medidas necesarias para la preservación del planeta y del bien común. La geografía se convierte de esta manera en un aspecto fundamental del desarrollo de nuestros pueblos. Una mayor y mejor formación geográfica especializada, aunado a la inserción de cuadros profesionales excelentemente formados en esta disciplina, en los sectores público y privado y en los organismos internacionales, contribuirá de manera significativa a la toma de decisiones, a la formulación de estrategias de desarrollo, a la definición de la política pública y a mejores tratados internacionales. Durante 3 días, expertos y expertas de diferentes países analizarán una gran diversidad temática desde la perspectiva de la geografía, tales como la agricultura, migraciones, reducción del riesgo, gestión del recurso hídrico, educación para la paz, nuevas tecnologías y, por supuesto, la formación profesional, solo para citar algunas. Todos temas de gran importancia y de los cuales aprenderemos de nuestros propios quehaceres y de nuestras propias experiencias. Desde ya, les auguro el mayor de los éxitos en esta conferencia internacional y me despido con el convencimiento que tales aprendizajes, los aprendizajes aquí obtenidos, se traducirán en cambios positivos en sus países de referencia. Muchas gracias.
Agradecemos las palabras del doctor Manuel Martínez Herrera, decano de la Facultad de Ciencias Sociales. A continuación, escucharemos las palabras del máster Edgar Mora Altamirano, ministro de Educación Pública de la República de Costa Rica.
Muchas gracias, muy buenas noches a todos. Muy agradecido con la invitación de la Escuela de Geografía, de la Facultad de Ciencias Sociales de la Universidad de Costa Rica y también con la coinvitación de la Escuela de Geografía de la Universidad Nacional. Y también muy agradecido con todos los visitantes que vienen desde lejos y sobre todo con los estudiantes que vienen desde cerca. También a Pascal un abrazo. Sí, mucho gusto de verte. Bueno, vamos a ver. También quiero agradecer muy especialmente esta invitación. Hoy es un día muy complejo, con muchas dificultades y sin embargo defendí la posibilidad de venir a capa y de espada porque me conmovió mucho la invitación. Yo no soy geógrafo, sin embargo la invitación que me cursaron reconocía mi aporte al uso de la geografía en la política pública y en la definición de temas muy, muy importantes. Entonces, casualmente me encontró en un momento en el que estaba tratando, o sigo, pero en ese momento especialmente estaba tratando de conciliar el trabajo que tengo ahora de ministro de Educación con una visión particular, propia, que quería desarrollar sobre el paisaje educativo del país y todo eso conciliarlo con mi experiencia previa como alcalde de una ciudad costarricense y mis conocimientos académicos de urbanismo y de política pública. Y la verdad es que lo que vengo a presentar aquí, a ver si obtiene algún grado de aval de parte de los expertos, es una visión conceptual, pero una visión que señala el impacto que la educación ha tenido en la geografía del país, pero también viceversa, la importancia que el pensamiento geográfico podría tener en una reforma educativa para el país. Es conceptual, como les digo, y entonces es un poco necesario que ustedes aporten su imaginación. Así que bueno, vamos a empezar. Yo diría que se podría denominar esta conferencia como aportes al paisaje educativo del país. Luis Alberto de Cuenca es un poeta español que además ha sido director de la Biblioteca Nacional de España y alguna vez, hace muchos años, aparentemente en otra vida, nos conocimos acá porque yo lo invité a venir como parte del jurado de un concurso de poesía internacional. Pero eso es en una época en la que solo Pascal y yo seguro nos acordamos. Estoy hablando muy suave, eso es lo que pasa, seguro. Sí, es que yo hablo así, qué vaina. Bueno, vamos a ver. No tengo otro, no traje otro personaje. Pero bueno, voy a tratar de hablar un poco más fuerte. Esta frase me gustó mucho, la encontré en un libro que casualmente es un libro muy especial sobre una exposición que se hizo en la Biblioteca Nacional de España recientemente sobre mapas desconocidos. Una recopilación de todos los mapas que hay en la Biblioteca Nacional de España, y él escribe esta frase que me parece muy sugerente. Un mapa es una ilusión, permite reconocer posiciones lejanas que tal vez nunca se vayan a pisar o soñar con rutas hacia territorios desconocidos y sugerentes. En el mapa hallamos nuestros pasos y proyectamos nuestros sueños. Y esto es más o menos de lo que voy a hablar cuando menciono el paisaje de la educación en Costa Rica. Este es el primer mapa. Primer mapa del paisaje. Este es el paisaje de la educación en Costa Rica. Yo me lo imagino, pero quisiera preguntarle a algún geógrafo calificado si también les parece que sea el mapa de un archipiélago. Es el mapa de un archipiélago. Ninguna escuela, ningún colegio en Costa Rica fue producto de la planificación del Ministerio de Educación Pública. Ninguna escuela, ningún colegio, y hablo de muchas, 5.500 centros educativos, está documentado que haya sido colocado en el territorio a partir de un mapa previo. Es decir, nunca, bueno, voy a contar cómo es. Cuando llegué al Ministerio de Educación, pedí que me trajeran el archivo, que fueran al archivo y me trajeran el mapa que el país proyectó en 1950 para los centros educativos de 1960. Y no lo trajeron. Igual fui poco a poco preguntando, bueno, tráigame el de 1960 que proyectara las escuelas en 1970. Y así sucesivamente hasta llegar al 2000, 2010. Tráigame el mapa del 2010 que nos indique cómo va a ser el paisaje educativo en el 2020. Y no hay mapa. Es decir, no hay soporte de planificación en la geografía. ¿Qué hay? Bueno, lo que hay es 5.500 centros educativos dispersos en el país, materializados. Cada una de esas escuelas y cada uno de esos colegios no es producto del uso de la geografía para la toma de decisiones, es producto de una narración. Es la narración que hizo esa comunidad de lo que ella iba a hacer cuando llegara a la escuela o cuando llegara al colegio. Esa narración duró sin materialización varios años, generó mucho interés en la comunidad, tanto así que alguna vez el gobierno se fijó en esa demanda, subrayo demanda, y convirtió esa solicitud en una escuela. Es decir, el panorama o el paisaje, de las escuelas y colegios en Costa Rica es la constatación de una demanda y no de una oferta. Surgieron de manera orgánica en el territorio. Sin embargo, a pesar de que esto está bien, lo cierto del caso es que cada una de ellas se concibió en un mapa de un archipiélago, sin ninguna sujeción a la más próxima. De tal manera que lo que hay es este mapa. Si yo tuviera como ministro que reconstruir el mapa de las escuelas y colegios, propondría este. Es un archipiélago de 5.500 centros educativos que hace que efectivamente en la vida práctica cada una de esas escuelas y colegios sea una isla. Por supuesto, ningún punto es viable matemática, paisajística o poéticamente suelto en el espacio. Es una improbabilidad. Es decir, un punto suspendido es una anomalía. Kandinsky lo dice de otro modo: una línea recta es una sucesión de puntos. Se le dio sujeción, pero se le dio una sujeción radial, no relacionada al territorio, sino relacionada al poder burocrático. Eso también es el mapa de las escuelas y colegios de Costa Rica. Todas tienen un vínculo de línea recta con un punto central. Y ese punto central es el poder administrativo, el que tengo yo como ministro. Este, por otra parte, es el mapa del momento en el que cada una de esas islas que conforman el archipiélago se ve intervenida por una línea recta. Y esto me lleva a pensar en el urbanismo latinoamericano particularmente, que confía excesivamente en el poder de la línea recta. El poder de la línea recta no es trivial. El único aporte que el ser humano ha hecho al paisaje es casualmente la línea recta. En las ciudades latinoamericanas la línea recta es la norma. Y es la norma en contraposición con las líneas ondulantes de la naturaleza, porque las ciudades latinoamericanas surgieron con un propósito meramente religioso, que planteaba la necesidad de separar la vida del ser humano de la vida natural. En aquel momento, durante la Inquisición española, todo lo que tenía que ver con naturaleza era pecaminoso, y las ciudades se plantearon como un espacio en el que lo que iba a ser prevalente eran los símbolos propios de esa nueva religión, del cristianismo, que además, por demás, se fundamenta esencialmente en la creencia en lo sobrenatural versus la creencia en lo natural. Es decir, la línea recta aparece como un instrumento imprescindible para desarrollar el urbanismo latinoamericano. Esto está definido claramente en la Ley de Indias, que además dice textualmente que el único propósito para hacer ciudad y conglomerar personas en el Nuevo Mundo es cristianizar. La línea recta, a la que hemos recurrido durante siglos, aparece acá, pero generando una sujeción administrativa a un punto central. Uno podría pensar que esto sigue siendo un archipiélago. Para favorecer la administración de ese paisaje educativo surgen pequeños conglomerados radiales distintos que suponen lo que en el Ministerio de Educación Pública consideran estructuras regionales. Visto esto, si uno se lo pudiera imaginar en 3 dimensiones y viéndolo desde acá abajo, eso es el mapa de una pirámide. Es decir, ya no es un mapa, es un plano de una construcción piramidal. Esa construcción piramidal supone que ese archipiélago está administrado de una manera donde el elemento principal no es el vínculo entre puntos, sino la sujeción de cada uno de esos puntos con un poder central. Algo como esto. Ok, aquí viene el conflicto. ¿Se puede desarrollar de verdad la educación de un país teniendo como fundamento ese paisaje o habría que alterar ese paisaje? Yo creo que sí, que hay que alterarlo, pero ¿alterarlo de qué modo? Y aquí viene la parte, digamos, que empiezo a proponer. Habría que crear una retícula que permita visualizar los distintos puntos vinculados a un espacio que ya no es el espacio vacío, sino un espacio limitado. También sucede que cada uno de esos puntos en algún momento tiene una posibilidad de diálogo, pero ese diálogo, como ven ahí en esas nubes de conversación, no conducen a ningún sitio. Esa es la situación actual. Yo lo que propongo es usar la geografía para crear un nuevo paisaje. Ese paisaje no confía necesariamente en la línea recta, confía en líneas onduladas que provienen del diseño, de patrones de diseño de la naturaleza y van vinculando poco a poco los puntos hasta conformar este nuevo paisaje. Ese es mi proyecto. Como ministro, si ustedes me abren la cabeza, eso es lo que... Y ponen un... Es decir, si me la parten aquí y ponen un dron a volar ahí encima, eso es lo que debería de verse. Es decir, todos los días yo imagino este nuevo paisaje para la educación costarricense. Ahora bien, ¿qué hay ahí? Ahí no hay autoritarismo, ahí hay cooperación y colaboración. Ahí hay confianza en el color. Ahí hay vínculos que trascienden la retícula, invaden otras retículas. Ahora, ¿cómo es esto en la vida real? Vamos. A mí me hubiera gustado, de verdad les digo, de verdad, muy sinceramente, a mí me hubiera gustado ser el ministro de Educación al que le preguntaran: ministro, ¿cuál es la mejor escuela? Y que yo pudiera decirle a ese que me pregunta: la mejor escuela es la más próxima a tu casa, porque todas son igual de buenas. Pero yo no soy ese ministro. Yo trabajo para que alguna vez en 20, 30 años una ministra, ojalá, le pregunten esto mismo y ella pueda contestar lo que dije. Quiero decir algo severo además. No me queda duda, después de 6 meses de ser ministro de Educación, que la matriz de la que sale el mapa de la desigualdad en Costa Rica es el archipiélago. No de la desigualdad de la calidad educativa, de la desigualdad en el país. La distancia de calidad entre el mejor colegio privado y el mejor colegio público es infinitamente menor, porque además a veces no existe, que la distancia de calidad entre el mejor colegio público y el peor colegio público. Y eso es muy triste porque el sistema público de educación es para lo contrario. Es para tener un paisaje distinto al paisaje de la desigualdad. Las desigualdades educativas conforman la desigualdad regional del país y conforma eso la desigualdad económica y social. También esta desigualdad de calidad educativa se materializa en el mapa de las elecciones en el país. Es idéntico. Es necesario pasar a una situación en la que la educación se fundamente no en el autoritarismo ni en la desigualdad, sino en la cooperación y la colaboración. Ese es mi mensaje, ese va a ser mi mensaje por todos estos años. ¿Por qué? Bueno, porque casualmente es absolutamente posible y necesario volver a la esencia de la demanda. La narración de la comunidad al crear o al solicitar la escuela y el colegio tenía que ver con su progreso. Su narración es una narración en la que se percibe desde siempre el valor de la educación como el instrumento de movilidad social. Y es absolutamente urgente volver a esa esencia porque este es un país que solo tiene dos recursos, solo dos. Los recursos naturales, que es mucho decir, pero que debe resumirse a un único recurso natural explotable según lo que hemos decidido como sociedad, que es casualmente el paisaje. El paisaje es el único recurso natural que nos permitimos explotar. Y el otro recurso natural somos nosotros. Son los chicos que hoy están en la escuela y en el colegio. Son esos dos recursos naturales los únicos que tenemos. Y en ese sentido, la educación es el único movilizador social disponible. Por eso es absolutamente necesario que se produzcan comunidades educativas ahí donde no las hay. Hoy día puedo ir a un colegio en Pavas, por ejemplo, y preguntarle a los chicos ¿cuántos colegios hay aquí a 1 kilómetro a la redonda? Y me dicen 4. ¿Cuántos estudiantes tienen? 1000 cada uno. 4000 muchachos. 4000 muchachos son capaces de cambiar el mundo. Y pregunto, ¿y colaboran? No. ¿Compiten? ¿Sí? Sí, eso sí. Este es el mapa de la competencia educativa. Algunos dicen, otros no dicen nada. Es absolutamente necesario rayar el mapa para poder tener un país donde la educación realmente se convierta en lo que nos hemos narrado que debería de ser. Y tengo plena conciencia y confianza en que la ciencia de la geografía y la disposición que tiene la geografía para aceptar los patrones de diseño de la naturaleza deben invadir ese otro campo de trabajo mío y de expertise que es la administración pública para generar planos de diseño institucionales distintos a este. Este es un plano de diseño institucional que, igual que la pirámide material, está afectada por la gravedad. Las instituciones son diseños humanos que tienen o son impactadas por las mismas fuerzas de la naturaleza. En una pirámide es muy fácil imaginar que el único que está cómodo es el que está arriba. Esto es, en mi caso soy yo, y es cierto, porque cualquier cosa que yo haga llega rápido abajo. El problema de la pirámide es que nunca se ha visto que algo suba, sino que todo baja sin subir nada. hay que cambiar el diseño institucional de la educación en Costa Rica para poder construir un mapa mucho más integrado. ¿Y cómo debería de ser ese diseño institucional? Pues parecido a algún otro elemento de la naturaleza. Por ejemplo, en las pirámides, las montañas, hay un ejemplo valioso que son los volcanes. También aparece en la olla de arroz cuando cocina uno. Es decir, la manera que la naturaleza tiene de subir energía calórica es a través de la creación de túneles verticales que se convierten en importantes a la hora de pensar en la reestructuración de una institucionalidad que pueda generar una geografía diferente. Y eso también es un plan importante de desarrollar. Es importante también pensar en elementos valiosos como el tiempo, como la reciprocidad, la colaboración y cooperación, por supuesto. Así es como me imagino yo que debería de ser el mapa escolar de Costa Rica. Voy a quedar hasta acá. Quedo a disposición de ustedes por si hay alguna pregunta o alguna inquietud. No sé si está programado que sea así, pero yo estoy disponible y muy agradecido de nuevo por la invitación. Muchas gracias.
Agradecemos mucho la participación del Ministro de Educación Pública, Máster Edgar Mora Altamirano. En nombre del Grosvenor Center for Geographic Education de Texas State University, queremos entregarle un pequeño detalle, don Edgar.
Así, muy bien.
Es un honor para nosotros haberle tenido acá, tanto para los ciudadanos costarricenses como para nuestros visitantes internacionales. Y lo que le entregamos acá es la medalla Grosvenor, nombrada por Gilbert Grosvenor, antiguo CEO de la National Geographic Society, cuyo nombre es el cual se presenta en el Centro de Investigaciones de Educación Geográfica de la Universidad Estatal de Texas.
Muchas gracias. Caray. Gracias. Muchas gracias. Muy conmovido por esto. Sí, de verdad, me siento muy feliz.
Muchísimas gracias, don Edgar. Ahora voy a cambiar a inglés. So next, we're going to have the participation of Dr. David Lambert, professor of the University of College London Institute of Education. So please welcome Dr. David Lambert.
Hola. Hello, everybody. I'm very, very pleased to be here, but I haven't got my pointer.
Yeah, thank you. There you have.
I'm very, very pleased to be here, and it's a great honor to be able to address this conference on powerful geography. I was just thinking about collaboration and cooperation and wavy lines. I really like wavy lines, and how important those collaborations have been in my teaching career. I started teaching in 1973, and I remember that moment that all teachers get from time to time when the children in front of you really seem to get it. You seem to have spent some time with those children, and it has been significant for them. And that makes it significant for you. I can't say that all my teaching was like that. But occasionally, that moment is achieved. And I think one question has occupied me all the time since 1973 until today. And that is, what does it mean to be a geography teacher? And by that I mean, what is its significance? I mean, does it matter? And of course it matters. You see, I'm not interested in geography if it ends up as a list of facts that somehow we're trying to get kids to remember. I don't want geography lessons to be repetitive. I don't want them to be boring. I don't want geography lessons to be predictable. So that's what I don't want. But what do I want about geography? Well, I'm going to tell you in the next 35 minutes or so. This presentation presents some ideas associated with a project that I've been associated with now since 2011, Geocapabilities. And you've got a postcard about it here. And I will be referring to the Geocapabilities project. It is not a top-down recipe of how I think geography teachers should teach. It is absolutely not that. I have never responded well to that as a teacher. If somebody tells me how to do it, I resist it. And so what I'm interested in with this project is how it's trying to develop something more like a bottom-up idea about how we can develop really high-quality geography teaching. It's giving the means to geography teachers themselves on the ground to create significance in what they do. And significance in what they do in this day and age. I won't claim that geography is the most important subject to teach, because all subject teachers will make the claim. No, physics is more important, and I'm not interested in that. But what I will argue is that geography is extremely important to teach in schools, and I hope to show why. My title is The Anthropocene, Freedom, Geography and the Future. This is big. Put your hand in the air if you do know about the Anthropocene. Okay, so about half. This is good. I'm guessing that you all know about freedom, geography, and the future. Well, let's see. Let's make a start. I'm going to start with the originator of the whole idea of a capabilities approach, and that is the Indian economist, welfare economist, Amartya Sen, who did his Nobel Prize-winning work in Cambridge University in the UK. He developed the capabilities approach. On the screen are a couple of quotes from Amartya Sen, and the bottom photograph is from last year when he came to speak at the Institute in London. And it was a marvellous occasion. He's very elderly, very infirm, but his ideas are very, very important. He says, for example, that poverty is not about not having money. That's the easy bit. The metric really doesn't matter. The problem about poverty, the significance of poverty, is that it deprives people of being fully human. It deprives people of living their lives as they wish to do. That's the problem with poverty, and that's the reason we have to get rid of poverty, to enable people to flourish and become human beings. So a capabilities approach is very, very attractive to an educator. It's about an approach, the approach is about human potential, or alternatively, it's about the potential for becoming fully human. And the capabilities approach, therefore, is about, ultimately, it's about human freedom for a person to be and to do what they want to be and do. It's about the choices individuals have in their lives. And so a capabilities approach raises our awareness about the factors that might be at work that deprive people of that freedom. And poverty, of course, is one of them. Now, for an educator, the question is fairly obvious. And what I'd like to just pose is the question, how does education develop people's capabilities? How does geography education contribute to human capabilities? We'll come to that. But before we move on, I must also mention Martha Nussbaum, the American professor who worked very closely with Amartya Sen over quite a few years. And she developed the notion of capabilities quite significantly. One thing Amartya Sen, to this day, refuses to do is to identify a specific list of human capabilities. He says, as soon as you do that, you end up with yet another metric, and it defeats the idea. It's a much bigger idea than reducing to lists. But Martha Nussbaum actually did, I think, disagree. And Martha came up with a list of 11, what she called human capabilities. And they're complicated, but I've listed them there on the screen. There's life itself. I mean, if you don't live for very long, of course, your capacity to develop as a free human being is very restricted indeed. And bodily health is obvious. And bodily integrity, to be safe from attack from others, is very, very important. To be able to use and develop your senses, all of them, is important. And here it starts to get really interesting. The ability to use your imagination and thought, your emotional health, your ability to engage in practical reason, your ability to affiliate, maybe with trade unions, but with ideas, respect for all of nature, not just human beings, but all of nature. The appreciation of the importance of play and relaxation and enjoyment in life, in being fully human. And the final one, to be able to exercise a little bit of control over one's material and political environment. Those, according to Martha Nussbaum, are human capabilities. And I'm intrigued by them. 3 points to make. They are not the same as competencies. If you're involved in education, you will know all across the world, governments and others have been trying to push education towards a more outcomes-led activity, where specific competencies are driving the activity. And capabilities are not like that. You can't identify individual skills or little abilities and assess them and say how good you are. It's much bigger than that. But the second point I'd like to say is some of the capabilities that Martha Nussbaum has identified are based upon the freedom to think. And I find that's really interesting. So the freedom to be able to make distinctions of merit, to be able to make rational judgments, to distinguish good arguments from bad arguments. This is really, really important. And our question, therefore, is in what way does education enable people to learn how to think? Well, to move us on, I want to introduce a little bit of literature. I was reading Sebastian Faulks's novel from 2012 called A Possible Life. And in this novel, set in the early 19th century, features a woman called Jean. And Jean lives in France, and a poor area of France. And Jean is described in the novel as the most ignorant woman in Lamazan. And it sounds very derogatory, but it's not really. Faulks goes on to describe this fictional character in this way. She understood so little of the material world, how water boiled, why a walnut fell from a tree, that she had to take almost everything on trust. And in the novel, he goes on to describe how Jean just takes each day as it comes, and each day is a new experience. What she lacks is a way to reason and to generalize and to make some distinctions. So Jean had knowledge and she had skills. I mean, she had a job and she did it very well. But I don't think it's disrespectful of Jean to say that she lacked something. And she lacked the kind of knowledge that school could introduce her to. And it's what I'm going to be calling powerful knowledge. Knowledge that enables you to think the not yet thought. There's a lot that Jean just couldn't think about because she didn't have the means to. Because she never went to school and she couldn't read and write. At the top of the screen, I refer to what David Baker, who is an American sociologist of education, refers to the Quiet Revolution. And in his book, he makes the point that for the first time in the history of the human race, more or less, children all over the world go to school. This is very significant, and it must have some impact on the way children think about the world, think about themselves, but also some impact on their potential. And I'm not saying all children's school experience is positive, but it is there. So let's go back to Jean and powerful knowledge. What is this powerful knowledge? Well, I have a kind of definition there in a list of bullet points, and we could discuss this maybe for the rest of the conference. Kind of what is it? I think powerful knowledge is usually evidence-based. You can usually show that there's some reason for it. It is often abstract and theoretical or conceptual. And that's very significant because this kind of knowledge I'm talking about is not the knowledge that Jean or anyone else would encounter in their everyday lives necessarily. It has to happen in a special set of circumstances with a teacher, probably in a school. But not always, of course, but a school is a good place for it. Powerful knowledge isn't just a load of facts or information. Powerful knowledge is part of a system of thought. It links together. That's what gives it its power. It's dynamic, it's evolving, it's always changing, it's always developing. And in our subject, you might think that's pretty damned obvious. Good geography never sits still. But the way we think about geography never sits still either. It's testable, it's open to challenge, but it's reliable. Powerful knowledge is often, not always, but it's often counterintuitive. In other words, what you see is not necessarily how things are working. So that's like saying powerful knowledge is often abstract. It's not common sense. And powerful knowledge usually comes from specialist knowledge domains. And that's why we have subjects. And if anyone tells you that we don't really need geography, it can be integrated with something else for timetabling reasons or for convenience, I would resist that. I'm all for cross-curricularity and I'm all for multiple disciplines, but we have to know where it's coming from first. So, back to geo-capabilities. The capabilities approach, as I've tried to outline, expresses what all young people have a pedagogic right to expect from school, because school is contributing to their substantive freedoms to be and to do. For example, to make healthy choices about how to live, to function productively in society, collaboratively and with agency to develop discernment with regard to economic, environmental, political issues of the day. Now, geo-capabilities, therefore, proposes that an element of the pedagogic right that all children have to powerful knowledge is geographical knowledge. That is, to learn how to think geographically. So the Geo-Capabilities Project was a bunch of European-based educators, and that happens to be an attractive photograph of most of them. We also got money to have a third country partner, and that third country partner was the USA, which is why the photograph features at least 2 Americans. We do know Americans are not European. And this project lasted about 3 years and followed a pilot phase, which was based in the USA. And incidentally, it finished in 2017, but has just won 2 more years of European money to continue. So it's going into its 3rd phase, which will take it to 2020. I'm particularly proud of this in the context of Brexit. The Europeans are giving a UK-based project some euros to continue research, which is great news. Whether that continues next year, watch this space. Okay, so the Geo-Capabilities Project developed a lot of ideas, and you can go to the website and you can see them. But one idea I just want to emphasize. What we realized as the project continued was that what we were really interested in was the role, the significance of geography for kids in this day and age. I'm going to talk about this day and age in a moment. But we realized that we were very interested in the situation that these children inhabit now. So who are these children? What are their circumstances? And it's only when we've kind of thought about that for a while we can come to the second question. And the second question is, okay, so why teach them geography? What is the significance of geography? And it's only when you've uncovered that question that you can then address the question, so what are we going to teach them in geography? And following that question is, and how are we going to do that? And what we realized was that in schools around the countries that we were working in, but I suspect globally, probably reversed that sequence totally opposite, in the opposite way. So teachers will go immediately to how am I going to do it? It's the actual, I've got a lesson, how am I going to do it? And the what will be part of that, the answer to that question, how. And many teachers won't even get to the why and probably never ask about the who in any deep, serious sense. And so we realized that this capabilities approach was actually probably quite significant in terms of the kind of thinking we were asking teachers to do. And what about this day and age? What is the significance of the present and the coming future? Well, that's where the Anthropocene comes in. We can't ignore these big issues about the world in which we live. And that photograph, incidentally, was taken from an art installation in a university in the north of England. Welcome to the Anthropocene era, which is a rather nice idea. Okay, so the Anthropocene. It's something to do with the state we're in. It's complex and it's multifaceted. And on that screen there, I've just tried to identify a few things about, for example, the digital age we live in, where news is 24/7. Information is at your fingertips. And children know this. It's about the global threats that we know exist. Climate change is the big one, but there are others as well, to do with huge global inequalities in wealth distribution, I think fueling huge migration pressures that countries around the world are facing. We can't just ignore this. I would add there the plastic crisis that we're becoming more and more aware of, plastics in the food chain, but also culture shifts connected to maybe the digital age where people, adults, let alone children, are not used to concentrating for long periods of time. I bet you're getting a little fidgety now. You've been sitting in a room for some time listening to people. It takes an effort and people aren't used to it. And the social media, I think, tyranny, where children's body image suddenly becomes extremely important and gets in the way of such a lot. But let's just focus just on the Anthropocene. It is such a big idea. If you don't know what it is, I will try to, I don't know where the pointer is. Is that, oh yeah. This is geological time. Can you see my pointer? The Earth is about 4,000 million years old. And this column here takes us to takes us through to the main eras. And I'm just going to take this era here and translate it to the middle column, which it now occupies fully. So eras are broken up into periods. And I'm just taking the top period here, which goes into the third column, and this period is divided up into epochs. And in geological time, we are said to occupy this epoch here, which is called the Holocene, which belongs to the Quaternary era, which is about 4 million years old. This diagram's useful, of course, because it reminds us about what a short period of time the human species has been on the Earth. Okay, so the human epoch is what the Anthropocene is about. And there is an argument raging among scientists as to whether the Holocene has finished and is now being replaced by the Anthropocene. Why? Because, as the slide shows, human impact is simply enormous. Through the building of cities, by the burning of fossil fuels, by the creation of chemicals in the form of plastics and poisons and so on and so forth, and deforestation and forest loss. We could add to this list, of course, but these are huge impacts. And these impacts, the geologists are saying, are so significant, they will be shown in the fossil record of years to come. That's an extraordinary thought. And in the Guardian newspaper, a British newspaper I just happened to read on the plane coming over 2 days ago, there was a whole page about species loss. This article here points out that scientists are reporting that since 1970, which was about when I started teaching, so during my professional life, 60% of vertebrates have been destroyed by humans on the planet. That's an extraordinary fact. And that will be shown in the fossil record. And it could be as serious as the end of the dinosaurs, which happened by some catastrophic event, which remains controversial, but maybe volcanic activity, we don't know for sure. But this is a very, very significant. Let's just carry on a little bit. He is the scientist, Paul Crutzen, an American, who is proposing the Anthropocene. It's very controversial because, for one thing, if you agree with this idea of the Anthropocene, the human epoch where humans are shaping physical systems, well, when did it begin? Some scientists say 1950. That's very precise. Some people say, well, when the first nuclear bomb went off would be a good marker. Some people say, no, it's clearly when the Industrial Revolution really got hold, when fossil fuels started to burn. And some people will say, no, that's ridiculous. The agricultural revolution was, and if you go back that far, then the Holocene is ended. So the Anthropocene is replacing the Holocene. So it's controversial. But it's incredible. And Paul Crutzen, he notes that the proportion of the planet which can be called wild has decreased in the last 300 years very considerably, so that, and this is his quote, the world is no longer dominated by natural ecosystems with humans disturbing them, but rather is dominated by human systems with more or less modified natural ecosystems embedded within them. It's a complete switch. This is mind-boggling stuff. And I think it is very powerful. And I think that every child on the planet needs to be introduced to not this as a fact, not the fact of the Anthropocene, but introduced into ways to think about it. Because it is very hard to think about. So, hold that thought, and I'm going to go back a little bit. In the sociology of education in the UK, and on the screen is a photograph of a friend of mine called Michael Young, who is a professor who wrote his first book in 1971. Remember, this is just before I started teaching. Michael Young is 84 years old, and he's still a professor at the Institute, and he's still working. His first book introduced the idea of the knowledge of the powerful, and it's been an enormously influential idea. He said that the problem with schools is that they only teach the elite the knowledge that they know is in their interests, and it alienates everybody else. So working class kids from deprived circumstances, school is not about them, it's not for them, it excludes them. And therefore the curriculum has to change. The curriculum has to be something else that can engage these young people who are alienated. This has been a very influential idea right across the world, and has contributed to ideas about integrating subjects, abolishing subjects, treating subjects as arbitrary and not very important, putting the emphasis on thinking skills, developing what's known as learning power, developing what's known as 21st century skills, because that's what's important, not the content. And Michael, in 2008, wrote another book called Bringing Knowledge Back In. And in that book, he argued that the problem with the knowledge of the powerful thing was that it didn't quite get to the end of the argument. It's not that it was wrong. He said schools do seem to exclude a lot of children. But the knowledge that schools are about is powerful knowledge, and it's everybody's right to get it. And so therefore you can't mess around with the curriculum and start giving some kids different curricula that they might find easier or something. We have to find ways to engage all kids in powerful knowledge. This is what Michael says powerful knowledge is. I will read it out quickly. Knowledge of the powerful is defined by who gets the knowledge in a society. Powerful knowledge refers to what the knowledge can do, or what intellectual power it gives to those who have access to it. Powerful knowledge provides more reliable explanations and new ways of thinking about the world, and acquiring it can provide learners with a language for engaging in political, moral, and other kinds of debates. This is, I think, a very, very powerful statement. And so if we look at the impact on children and our capabilities approach, I think if we are interested in the quiet revolution and the fact that all kids go to school, the question is, what is the quality of the experience they have at school? Does school really give them intellectual power? These are Michael Young's words. Does school really help them envisage alternatives? Does it help them with new ways of thinking about the world, which might be, for example, understanding the Anthropocene, etc., etc. And on the right-hand side, does it give them a language for engaging with political, social, economic, and environmental debates of the day? I think these are really exciting questions and take us right back to where I started. That excitement of being a teacher where you know that what you've done with a bunch of 13-year-olds or 16-year-olds has been significant because they do seem to get it. So how is geography powerful knowledge? Well, I have about 3 slides left if you're getting a bit tired. This is how we described powerful knowledge in the Geocapabilities project. Just 3 bullet points. Remember, this is not a top-down recipe. This is not a definition. So first of all, powerful knowledge in geography, it's all that contextual knowledge about the Earth as a system. And the amount of substantive, so-called contextual knowledge is enormous. There are lists and lists, world wind patterns, continents and oceans. There is a lot of this contextual knowledge that somehow we need to teach. It is like the vocabulary of the subject. Without the vocabulary, you can't speak geography. You need this stuff. But the second bullet point is even more important, and it's the conceptual or the inferential knowledge that we try to impart. It's the relational thinking that through studying geography over a number of years, you begin to acquire. So, for example, if you studied geography well over a number of years, you have a really rich, deep understanding of the word environment. It doesn't just mean green. It means systems and interconnections and so on and so forth. And thirdly, the powerful knowledge is in the procedural stuff. How to draw a map, how to read a map, how to communicate with it and argue and so on. But in that third bullet point, you'll see we've tried to emphasize that these procedures are oriented to a sort of a future perspective and helping young people argue and stake their claim, to speculate, to use their imagination as well. That's equally important to drawing maps or whatever. So that's how we began to talk about powerful knowledge in the Geocapabilities project. And I just wanted to put up a comparative slide, which is powerful geographical knowledge according to the National Centre for Research in Geography Education, which is Dick and Richard's organisation, Michael's organisation. And it's slightly different, but there are overlaps. So the first bullet point is the substantive geographical knowledge, the world wind patterns, ethnic groups, definitions, blah, blah, blah. The second bullet point is the conceptual knowledge, the big ideas of the subject like space and place and environment. And then thirdly, the procedural knowledge, such as spatial analysis, GIS. I think those definitions of powerful knowledge from capabilities and from the National Centre are very similar. They're different but very similar. But I'd just like to put a slight gloss on both of them, just concentrating on that one for the moment. And it's at the bottom of the screen. the proposal is that powerful knowledge in geography consists of knowing that and two forms of knowing how. Knowing that is the kind of the factual stuff, knowing that winds go from here to there and so on and so forth. But two forms of knowing how. And the two forms of knowing how are the procedural knowledge, how does this work, but also the inferential knowledge, which I mentioned before. The inferential knowledge of how things link together. So concepts like environment might start really quite simple, but as you develop a geographical knowledge, they become more and more complex with more and more links. This is the aspect of powerful knowledge I mentioned earlier, whereby it's systematic, it's connected, and that's why it belongs to disciplines and subjects, specialist subjects. Okay, I'm going to just skip this one, but I might come back to it. But I just wanted to introduce the final idea from geo-capabilities, which I find very useful in certain settings, and it might be something that can be opened up during the conference. A curriculum based upon this idea of powerful knowledge and capabilities is what we began to talk in terms of a Future 3 curriculum. The three futures, Future 1, Future 2, Future 3, again, comes from Michael Young's work. Future 1 is the kind of curriculum scenario which I certainly experienced as a child. I was a good student. I didn't create trouble for anyone. I turned up. I just took what the teachers gave me, made the best sense I could, and gave it back to them. And I was okay with that. And some kids are like that. Maybe 20% or so are like that. Most kids aren't. Future 1 is a given curriculum. The knowledge is just there. You try and transmit it, and it's inert, often extremely tedious and boring. And we don't want a Future 1 curriculum. A Future 2 curriculum I alluded to earlier in my talk. It's a response to all the inadequacies of Future 1. And Future 2, the emphasis isn't on the content anymore. It's on the skills, and particularly the learning skills. And that's where a lot of rhetoric comes from about 21st century learning and learning to learn and all the rest of it. And it's definitely the kind of curriculum which is based upon competence outcomes. And we think this is totally inadequate as well, because it deprives kids from powerful knowledge. And so Future 3 is, in a way, it's some kind of combination of Future 1 and Future 2, although I think that's slightly misleading. It's a curriculum based upon this high-quality form of knowledge where both teacher and pupil needs to be engaged with the knowledge. That's why I was excited when kids got it. It's because I knew the significance of them getting it. I was involved, I was engaged with the knowledge, and that's what I wanted them to be. And I don't think school teachers are terribly good at this, because we don't ask them to be good at it. We don't give them time sometimes. But all teachers are interested in their pupils. and we need to find ways, and maybe waves and collaboration and so on is the way to do it. So I will now go back one slide and just leave you with those questions. Because this idea of powerful knowledge, I know is quite difficult to people. And some people do object to it on all sorts of grounds. And so it might be good to finish with some questions. I mean, who owns powerful knowledge? Where do you get it? I think ultimately you get it from the specialist communities that make it, and that's why something called geography and history and physics is important, because this is where it's coming from. But we have to understand that it never stands still. It is always in a state of becoming. So don't go to a 20-year-old textbook necessarily. Can powerful knowledge be written down? I think it's quite difficult to do that. It's a state of mind. And so what we need to understand is that teachers need to interpret what's written down in order to make it powerful. We have to give teachers freedom to do that. And I was impressed with the minister talking about raising levels of trust in teachers to do that. And how can powerful knowledge be delivered to the mass, to all children, when we know that children do in fact resist it? Well, I think delivery is perhaps an inappropriate metaphor. Delivery belongs to Future 1. Future 3 is more about engagement, where both teachers and students develop a relationship with the knowledge, or let's put it more simply, a relationship with the subject. They begin to love it. And that's where I'm going to stop, because I think you've had enough. Okay. Thank you very much. Sorry I destroyed your equipment.
That's fine. Thank you very much, Dr. Lambert, for your message. I think it has been well received today in the opening ceremony at the Powerful Geography Conference. I'm going to switch now to Spanish. Sorry. Okay. Muchas gracias a todos los invitados y invitadas que hemos tenido el día de hoy, dedicando a la Facultad de Ciencias Sociales, Ministro de Educación Pública, nuestro orador internacional invitado. Quisiera concluir, yo sé que hemos escuchado muchos mensajes, pero este es muy importante. Brevemente quisiera leerles un comunicado que emitió el Instituto Panamericano de Geografía e Historia referente a educación geográfica. Voy a leer un pequeño resumen que básicamente es una resolución del Consejo Directivo que se emitió en una última reunión realizada del 22 al 26 de octubre del 2018 en Santa Cruz de la Sierra, Bolivia. La resolución reafirma el interés de propiciar la educación geográfica, de la educación en geografía, en los niveles de educación tanto básica, media como superior. Enfatiza en la necesidad de preparar a la población estudiantil hacia una ciudadanía informada, socialmente integrada y económicamente competitiva en un mundo globalizado. Toma en cuenta que muchas naciones enfrentan problemas estudiados por la geografía física y humana. Destaca el papel creciente de las tecnologías de información y comunicación, tecnologías geoespaciales, utilizados en educación en geografía como fundamental en el conocimiento terrestre avanzado de los países. Llama la atención en las nuevas demandas del mercado laboral que requiere profesionales con conocimiento geográfico y destrezas geoespaciales para apoyar y combinar el desarrollo económico y social de las naciones con una proyección ambiental armónica de sus territorios. Informa que la educación geográfica se suma a la Agenda Panamericana del 2010 al 2020 y es una vía para la consecución de los Objetivos del Desarrollo Sostenible de las Naciones Unidas 2030. Y por último, añade a la resolución nueva la ciencia geográfica como una disciplina autónoma aprobada en la 16ª reunión de consulta de geografía en Colombia en 2001. Con este mensaje terminamos la ceremonia de apertura.